Have you ever asked an AI for something and gotten a completely useless answer? Yeah, we've all been there. It turns out the secret to unlocking an AI's real power isn't some kind of magic. It's a skill. It's called prompt engineering. And today, we're going to break down the key techniques to get exactly what you want from any language model out there.
So, how do you actually learn to speak AI? Well, it's not really about learning a programming language. It's more about learning the art of asking the perfect question. You can think of the techniques we're about to cover as your own personal Rosetta Stone for translating your ideas into real results.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the absolute basics, giving the AI little to no guidance at all, and then we'll build our way up to some really sophisticated techniques that give you pinpoint control over its logic and its output. By the end of this, you'll see how all these methods stack together to create some incredibly powerful and reusable prompts. First up, let's dive into a really core concept in AI communication, learning by example. It turns out that sometimes the best way to tell an AI what you want is to just show it. This is our first big step in going from a kind of vague request to a laser-focused result. So we're going to start with the most fundamental approach there is, zero-shot prompting. The best way to think about this is like you're talking to a super smart person who knows a ton about the world, but they can't read your mind. You just state your request and you're relying completely on their huge library of general knowledge to get it right. So, for example, a really simple prompt like describe a dog might get you an answer that's, well, it's factually correct, sure, but it's totally unfocused. Is it going to talk about breeds or behavior or their history? See, without any guidance, the AI just has to guess, so it gives you a little bit of everything. It's kind of all over the place. Okay, so how do we get more focused? Well, that's where our next technique comes in, single-shot prompting. The idea here is really simple. Just give the model one single, clear example to follow. It's like giving someone the perfect hint to guide their thinking in the right direction. And here you can see the payoff side by side. On the left, you've got that vague zero-shot result, but on the right, just by giving it one example of a cat description, the AI immediately gets the pattern. It pivots to describing the dog using similar attributes, physical traits. I mean, that's a huge leap in quality from just a single clue. But what if you need more than just focus? What if you need a really consistent style and format every single time? That's where few-shot prompting comes into play. By providing several examples, you're essentially training the AI right there on the fly to match the precise pattern you're looking for. The real light bulb moment here is that you're guiding not just the content, but the style too. So if your examples are short and witty, guess what? The AI's output is going to be short and witty. If they're all structured with bullet points, the AI is going to follow that exact structure. This is your go-to technique when you know exactly what that final output needs to look like. Okay, so giving examples is definitely powerful, but it's not the only way to do this. Now, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Instead of just showing the AI what we want, we're going to get a lot more strategic about how we actually structure the prompt itself. This is where we start adding logic and building things to be reusable. Now, this next technique, chain of thought prompting, is an absolute game changer, especially for complex problems. You're basically telling the AI, hey, don't just give me the answer, show me your work. By telling it to break down its reasoning step by step, you often get much more accurate and transparent results. And this is kind of what that looks like in action. When you force the model to verbalize its own steps, from identifying characteristics to explaining attributes to detailing behaviors, it seriously reduces the chance of making a mistake. It can't just jump to a conclusion. This is exactly why it's so powerful for things like math problems or logic puzzles, where the process is the path to the right answer. And finally, we have prompt templates. The easiest way to think of this is like creating Mad Libs, but for an AI. It's a standardized, reusable structure that takes some user input and just plugs it into a predefined prompt. This is all about getting consistency and scalability. So here's a really simple template in practice. We've defined the core structure of our request, right? But we've left key parts as variables, the type of animal and the specific trait. This is incredibly efficient because now, instead of writing a whole new prompt every single time, we just have to fill in the blanks. And here is where the magic happens. A user inputs dog and smelling capabilities. The system automatically slots those into our template and creates a perfect custom-built prompt. The AI then delivers a totally tailored response that hits that specific point of interest. This is exactly how you build scalable AI tools, everything from automated email writers to customer support bots. Okay, wow, we have covered a lot of ground.
So let's take a second and lock in everything we've learned with a quick, exam-ready recap. Think of this as your ultimate study guide to these 5 essential techniques. All right, let's do a quick lightning round of our toolkit. Zero shot, that's your go-to for general knowledge stuff where you don't need a ton of control. Single shot, this gives you a bit of guidance with one solid example. Few shot, this is for when you need to absolutely nail a specific format by providing multiple examples. Chain of thought, that's your secret weapon for tricky logic problems, forcing the AI to think step by step. And finally, prompt templates. These are the key to building scalable, consistent AI applications by standardizing how you handle user input.
So I'm going to leave you with a little practical challenge. Imagine you need to build a tool that summarizes really complex legal documents. Now, the key is that the output format has to be perfectly consistent every single time. Looking at the toolkit we just went through, which technique, or maybe even a combination of them, would you use as your starting point? Your answer to that question, well, that's your first real step to mastering prompt engineering.